Jessica White, and I'm a Senior Research Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute in London on the Terrorism and Conflict team. I've conducted a lot of research on gender mainstreaming, and I'm actually just publishing a book now on gender mainstreaming strategies in counterterrorism policy, looking at some different comparative examples of preventing and countering violent extremism programming. If I can offer a few tips from what I've learned, the first one would be to think about your team. Think about the team that is implementing the program and the diversity that you may or may not have on that team. Sort of looking inwards to see whether you have gender diversity, racial diversity, economic diversity will help you to understand where you need to fill in extra bits of analysis and understanding, and to ensure that you're really getting the perspective in the design of your program. Second, I would say, as this sort of security field itself has been so gender blind historically, there's very little data that exists on gender dynamics in different contexts. So it's essential to think about gendered assumptions that might be present within your team or within the local culture, the local society, thinking about gendered assumptions and the roles that people might play in violent extremism organizations, in the way that different drivers of violent extremism might be gendered, and even in the expectations of what roles people can play in preventing and countering violent extremism. So I would really encourage the use of a gender lens to conduct research on your local context to really understand the depths of these different gender dynamics of participation, of roles, of expectations, and how the sociocultural understandings of gender norms and gendered expectations impacts these in your local context. Then I would say take that knowledge that you gain from the research and ensure that you're inserting it into the design of your program. So in thinking about different components of your program, or thinking about different elements of trying to include diversity, yes, part of gender mainstreaming is about empowering women in these contexts and ensuring that there is access to equal participation. So think about the timings of your programs. Is it a time that is suitable for everyone to be able to attend? If women in this context have childcare responsibilities, are you offering childcare so that there can be participation? Thinking about these practical elements of ensuring equal access is one element, as well as thinking about the applicability. So have you considered gender power structures, and how, if it is a patriarchal context within which you're working, are women allowed into these conversations about security? Is it taboo to be having these conversations? How can you overcome that? Think about the local social structures and how they're gendered, and how participation in a certain space might be different for women than for men, and how that can impact their interactions with violent extremism. This can all be helped along by ensuring that you include gendered markers and indicators in your monitoring and evaluation strategy to ensure that you're keeping track of this as you go along, and that you can adjust your program as you're learning more about the gendered dynamics of your local context. And then definitely, when we talk about gender mainstreaming, it's essential to remind everyone that we're not just talking about women, right? This applies to everyone, and it really needs to be a lens that is applied to the whole of your program. If you're thinking about if youth is the target of your program, have you thought about the different experiences that male and female youth would be having, and account for those different experiences? It's always useful to share anything that is successful, as well as to share failures, as that knowledge it can help the next person down the line understand it and do it better. So it's not just about women. Gender mainstreaming is about everyone, and thinking about how gender equality needs to be the final goal for a comprehensive and transformative gender mainstreaming strategy.